A 25-year-old black hat operator recently appeared on a podcast and calmly explained how to make an AI say whatever he wants, with statements including poison public Q&As, hijack who gets credited, and entirely erasing a named person from the results. AI search can be manipulated, plain and simple. Some of that is bravado. Some of it is real, documented, and already happening at scale. This video isn't a tutorial. We don't publish those. It's the other half of the conversation. What these attacks actually are, which ones hold up under scrutiny, what they mean for your brand, and how you defend against them. Because the uncomfortable truth is simple. AI search today sits roughly where Google sat 15 years ago. Enormous reach, thin safeguards. The people who learned to game early on Google are now applying the same instincts to language models. If you have a brand worth attacking, you are already exposed. The question is whether you can see it. The big question: why is AI search gameable right now? 3 structural facts make this possible, and none of them are secret. First, most models learn from the open web. Anyone can publish. The more sources a system ingests, the harder each one is to verify. Second, the barrier is lower than the industry assumed. A joint study from Anthropic, the UK AI Security Institute, and the Alan Turing Institute, published in late 2025, found that roughly 250 malicious documents can backdoor a large language model, regardless of its size. Separately, research on retrieval systems, the search layer bolted onto chatbots, found that as few as 5 to 10 malicious documents can manipulate what the system retrieves. Third, these systems lean toward consensus, not authority. When many sources say the same thing, that repetition is treated as signal, which is exactly the weakness a coordinated network exploits. Put those together, and you get the real-world case that matters. Let's discuss an interesting case study called the Pravda network. In March 2025, the misinformation watchdog NewsGuard tested 10 leading chatbots and reported they repeated false narratives laundered by a Moscow-based network called Pravda, about 33% of the time, with 7 of the 10 directly citing Pravda articles as sources. The network wasn't chasing human readers. Researchers described a tactic they called LLM brooming, which strategically contaminates the training and retrieval data that models rely on, so future answers come out shaped in your favor. Now the honest part, because we don't sell panic. A Harvard Kennedy School study pushed back hard. It found the chatbots rarely cited these sources, and the references clustered almost entirely around narrow, obscure claims where no credible information existed, called data voids, rather than across the board. In plain terms, the manipulation lands where there's an information vacuum, and struggles where authoritative content already exists. That distinction is the whole game for a brand. You are most vulnerable on the specific, low-competition questions about you where you haven't published the authoritative answer yourself. That is a defensible position, and we'll come back to it. Here's what to actually watch for. The threat map, which maps 5 possible ways a brand gets hit. 1. Narrative poisoning. A coordinated set of low-quality sources repeats a false claim about your brand until a model treats the repetition as consensus. This is the Pravda pattern, pointed at a company instead of a country. 2. Attribution hijacking. An attacker structures a page so a model credits their content to your domain, or the reverse. Your best material surfaces under someone else's name. Attribution in AI answers is fragile, and it can be gamed. 3. Cloaking to AI crawlers. Content shown only to the AI's crawler, invisible to any human who checks the page. If you're only reading what you can see in a browser, you're not seeing what the model sees. 4. Entity suppression via process abuse. This is the ugliest one. Attackers misuse legitimate systems, such as privacy removal requests and DMCA processes, which quietly push a target out of results. The operator in that interview bragged about erasing people this way. Whether or not his specific method works as claimed, the underlying abuse of takedown and privacy processes is real, and it often fires with no notification to the target. 5. Impersonation and fabricated mentions. Fake profiles, clone sites, and seeded reviews designed to feed the model a false picture. In 2025, the FBI warned of AI-generated voice and text impersonating senior officials to extract information. The same playbook scales down to brands. Is white hat really a scam? The operator's headline claim was that white hat SEO is a scam. You pay an agency to do nothing and hope for the best. It's a good soundbite. It's also a false frame, that it's worth dismantling. Here's the trade the soundbite hides. Every technique in that interview carries three costs the demo never shows: detection risk, recoverability, and legal exposure. Poisoning and coordinated inauthentic behavior are exactly what platforms and regulators are now building to catch. When a model updates its safeguards, and they are fast, borrowed positions collapse with no path to recovery. And erasing a real person or forging a takedown isn't gray hat cleverness. It's the kind of thing that ends in liability. So, the real distinction isn't between naive and effective. It's durable versus borrowed. GrowifyLabs works across the full spectrum of technique, which is precisely why we can read that trade with honesty. For anyone with a brand to protect, the aggressive stack is usually a bad trade. Not because it never moves anything, it's because when it reverses, it takes the brand with it. You cannot control what an attacker publishes. You can control whether you see it, and whether there's authoritative content for the model to prefer. That's the entire defensive posture, and it has 4 parts. 1. Monitor your entity across AI surfaces. Track how ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, and Google's AI answers describe you, which sources they cite, and when the sentiment or the story shifts. Most brands have no idea what the model says about them until a customer repeats it back. You cannot defend the surface you're not watching. 2. Own the authoritative answer. Remember the data void finding: poisoning lands in the gaps, so you close the gaps. Genuine entity authority, accurate, structured, well-sourced content about your brand and your category, reinforced across the third-party sources models trust, makes a false narrative far harder to seat. This is AI search visibility work, and it's the single best defense because it's the one attackers can't easily undo. 3. Monitor process abuse and impersonation. Watch the takedown and privacy channels, DMCA filings, Lumen records for actions against your URLs. Watch for cloned sites, fake profiles, and attribution hijacks. Catching a suppression attempt early is the difference between a quiet fix and a permanent hole. 4. Have a response path. When something lands, you need evidence preservation, the right escalation route to each platform, and a correction strategy that actually reaches the model's sources. Improvising this mid-incident is how brands lose weeks. 2 of those 4 are our AI search visibility service. The other 2 extend our brand protection stack onto AI surfaces. Together, that's the defense. So, is black hat AI manipulation real? Parts of it, yes, and documented. Is it the unstoppable magic the interview implied? No. It lands in the gaps. It carries real risk for whoever runs it, and it's defensible if you can see it and you've done the work to own your own answer. The operators gaming AI search are betting you're not watching. The defense starts with proving them wrong. If you want to know how your brand currently shows up across search and AI, and where you're exposed, a detailed audit is the place to start. It's linked below, along with how our brand protection and AI search visibility programs work. We'd love to discuss how we can help your business grow by going to GrowifyLabs.com.